passports, visas, baggage rules, and airport security are all seeing more changes in 2026. And some of these updates could have a big impact on your travel plans this coming year. Today, I'm going over the most important 2026 travel changes and how you can be prepared before you head to the airport. Let's go. First up, let's talk about IDs. After almost 20 years of delays, the Real ID requirement is finally being enforced. As of May 7th of this year, you now need a Real ID, which is the driver's license with the little star in the corner. Or you'll need another accepted ID like your passport or global entry card, even for domestic flights. There are a few other options if you don't have a Real ID or passport, like a Veteran Health ID card, an enhanced tribal card, or a permanent residence card. My understanding is that DMVs across the country have been backed up trying to get everyone processed who wants a Real ID. So if you are planning to fly somewhere this coming holiday season and you don't have one of those alternative IDs, I would try to get that appointment at the DMV as soon as possible. And here is something new. The TSA is now accepting digital IDs like mobile driver's licenses in your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet at hundreds of the checkpoints nationwide. But you don't want to rely on that alone. Always carry your physical ID too, because phones die and systems can glitch. Something brand new with TSA that could change the way that you move through security is that TSA has started rolling out biometric eGates in partnership with Clear. Instead of handing your ID and boarding pass to an officer, you'll walk up to a gate, scan your boarding pass, and then have a quick facial recognition scan, which will confirm your identity. If everything matches, the gate opens and you are on your way. Clear says the whole process takes just a few seconds and that the idea is to make that first identity check faster and smoother. Right now, this is only available to Clear Plus members. That is a paid version of Clear that costs about $209 per year. And it's only set up in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., and Seattle so far. But they are expecting to roll it out nationwide by next summer, the summer of 2026, to be prepared for July's World Cup in the U.S. Moving on to Europe. If you are planning a trip to Europe in 2026 or even the rest of this year, this is one of the biggest changes you'll notice. The new entry-exit system, or EES, is replacing passport stamps for travelers from outside the EU or Schengen area. And it is set to go into effect October 12th, which is the week that this video is going live. Here's how it's going to work. On your very first entry after the system is live, you'll need to go through a one-time registration process. That means you'll be fingerprinted, photographed, and your passport details will be scanned. Once that's done, your information is stored digitally and linked to your passport. From then on, every time you cross into the Schengen area, the system will automatically log your entry and exit. No more stamps in your passport. Everything is electronic. This makes me very sad. I love getting those stamps. How does this impact you now? First, it means longer lines at the start because every non-EU traveler will have to be registered. Border checks are going to take more time, especially over the next few months and into early 2026. Families, tour groups, and airports with fewer kiosks are definitely going to see backups, so build in extra time if you have connecting flights. The second impact is that it is going to enforce the 90 days in any 180 days rule much more strictly. Before, it was really easy to slip through if a border guard didn't add a stamp or missed a date. Now the system will automatically count every day that you spend in the Schengen area. If you overstay, the system is going to flag you and you could face fines, entry bans, or even problems with future visas. Finally, it really should make re-entry faster in the long run. Once you're registered, future trips should move quicker, similar to how global entry speeds up things here in the US. But in the beginning, patience is definitely going to be needed. And while we're talking about Europe, let's talk about the ETIAS, the European Travel Information and Authorization System, which has been on the table available for a while. It has been delayed several times, and now the new launch date is now into late 2026. If this is your first time hearing about the ETIAS, think of it as Europe's version of the United States ESTA or ESTA. It's not really a visa, but it is a required pre-authorization. You're going to apply online, pay a small fee, and get approval before boarding a flight, ferry, or even a train into the EU. The approval should be quick, and it will be valid for multiple trips up to 3 years. Originally, the fee was set at just €7, but the EU has announced it's going to increase that fee before launch, so expect it to cost a bit more by the time the applications open. The important thing for 2026 travelers to remember is that you don't need the ETIAS yet. Trips this year are still passport only. But once it launches, it is going to be mandatory for everyone, no matter what your age. And one last warning, there are already some scam sites out there trying to collect fees for this early. Don't fall for them. Only use the official EU website once it goes live. Now, let's move over to the UK because their system is already live and has been for about a year now. If you're traveling to England, Scotland, Wales, or Northern Ireland, you now need a UK ETA, Electronic Travel Authorization. Yes, just like the ETIAS, it's very similar to the US's ESTA. Again, you are going to apply online or through the official app, upload your passport details, answer a few questions, and pay the fee. Once approved, the ETA is linked to your passport, so there's no paper or physical document to carry around. It is valid for 2 years or until your passport expires, whichever comes first. And you can use it for multiple trips during those 2 years. The big change this year and moving into 2026 is the price increase. When the program first launched, it was only £10, but in April of this year, the UK government raised the fee to £16. It's still fairly affordable compared to the cost of a full visa, but travelers should definitely budget for it. And an important detail here is that you'll need an ETA not just for vacations, but also if you're transiting through the UK and going through border control. For example, if you're switching airports or leaving the secure zone in the airport. But if you're doing an airside transit, meaning you stay in the secure international area of the airport and don't pass through border control, you're not going to need an ETA. So if you are planning a trip to the UK in 2026, make sure to add the ETA application to your pre-trip checklist right alongside booking those flights and making sure that you have enough time left on your passport. Now, let's talk about one area where travelers keep getting caught off guard, what you can and cannot pack in your checked and carry-on bags. First, the big one, lithium batteries. TSA and airlines are getting much stricter about lithium batteries. Portable chargers, spare lithium batteries, e-cigarettes, and vapes must be packed in your carry-on only. They cannot go into your checked luggage under any circumstances. This can also include some rechargeable toothbrushes. But here's what is new. The battery information must be clearly visible on the device. That means the watt-hour rating or the lithium content has to be printed somewhere on the battery or the device itself. If TSA or the airline can't read that information, they can deny it from being carried on board. So before you travel, check your power banks, camera batteries, toothbrushes, fans, and even rechargeable hair tools to make sure that those specs are clearly labeled, that somebody can easily read them. And speaking of hair tools, cordless curling irons and straighteners that use rechargeable lithium batteries or butane cartridges are now required to be in your carry-on as well. And the heating element has to have a protective cover over it. For checked bags, think no heat, no fire, no power. That means no spare batteries or power banks and no smart bags with non-removable batteries. If your carry-on or checked suitcase has one of those built-in charging ports, the battery must be removable. Otherwise, it's not going to be accepted. And keeping with some other TSA updates, As of this summer, most travelers in the United States no longer have to take their shoes off at security. This has been one of the biggest complaints about flying since 2001, and TSA is finally easing up thanks to better screening technology that they've put in place. Along with that, more and more checkpoints now have CT scanners, which are using advanced 3D imaging machines. These scanners are giving the TSA agents a full 360-degree view of your bag, which means at many airports in security, you're going to be able to keep your laptop and electronics in your bag and leave your liquids packed in your carry-on as well. However, that being said, the 311 rule still applies. Even if you don't have to pull your liquids bag out, your bottles still need to meet the 100 milliliters or 3.4 ounce size rule, and you still need to have all of those liquids packed in a quart-size bag. Unfortunately, not every lane is upgraded yet. Some airports have the new scanners in, but others only have a few of them in a few lanes, and some airports are still using the old system. So my best advice is to still pack as if you're going to need to pull your liquids and laptop out, and treat it as a bonus win when you don't have to. And going back to lithium batteries, another update that a lot of people aren't really aware of are the stricter rules around portable chargers and power banks. Like I said before, these must always be in your carry-on luggage or personal item bag, never in your checked luggage. That's because lithium batteries can overheat and even catch fire, and it's safer if they are in the cabin where flight crews can react quickly if something does catch on fire. But in 2025 and now moving into 2026, airlines are going even further. Southwest Airlines, for example, announced that if you're using a power bank during a flight, it has to stay in plain view, like on your tray table or even in your seat back pocket. You can't plug in your phone and then shove the charger down into your backpack under the seat. This is because there have already been several incidents of overheated batteries in flights. When a battery starts smoking inside a bag, it's almost impossible for the crew to be able to get to it quickly, and it can turn into a very serious safety issue. There have been cases where flights have had to divert or make emergency landings because a lithium battery caught fire mid-flight. And in fact, there was a pretty serious incident over in Korea, I believe. By requiring that the portable chargers stay visible, the crew can spot the problem early and take action right away. If your bag is getting gate checked when you are getting onto the plane because the overhead bins are full, you need to remember to remove your portable charger and bring it with you into the cabin. If the crew finds a portable charger that's been left inside of the suitcase, it can be confiscated. It may feel strict, but it is all about reducing the risk of an onboard fire, which we all want to avoid, right? This next update isn't really something that's happened yet, but fingers crossed it's going to happen soon. And it could be a huge win for travelers in Europe. This past summer, the European Parliament's Transport Committee voted in favor of a proposal that would require airlines to include a free carry-on bag in the price of your ticket. The idea is that every passenger would be guaranteed one small cabin bag plus a personal item bag without getting hit with surprise carry-on fees. If this rule actually passes, it would mean no more guessing game when you buy an airline ticket about whether your wheeled carry-on is actually included or it's going to cost extra. You would always know that you can bring at least 2 items on board, a small suitcase or cabin bag, plus a backpack, small backpack, or handbag. Now, before you get too excited, this is just a proposal. It still has to be approved by the full European Parliament and then by each member state. So it's not law yet. And airlines, as you can imagine, are pushing back, saying it could force them to have to raise their base fares. Some carriers are even making small changes ahead of the rule. For example, Ryanair recently increased the size of their free personal bag that it allows, making it slightly more generous than it was before, but at the same time, they're getting even stricter about enforcing their carry-on rules. The airline is now paying staff a bonus for every oversized bag that they catch at the gate. And passengers can be charged up to 75 euros if their bag doesn't fit in the little sizer. So make sure your luggage really meets the size limits before you board. Don't expect this to be in place in 2026, but if it does move forward, it could make travel in Europe a whole lot simpler and save you from some of those sneaky extra baggage fees. For anyone who uses Global Entry or has been considering applying for Global Entry, the application and renewal fees have gone up from $100 to $120. It's the first price increase in over 15 years, and it now kind of matches the fees for the other trusted traveler programs like Nexus and Sentry. The good news is that membership is still valid for 5 years, and kids under 18 can now apply for free if a parent or guardian is also a member or applying at the same time. And don't forget, Global Entry also includes TSA PreCheck, so you're basically getting 2 benefits in one. But make sure to check your credit cards before you apply, because many of the travel credit cards will actually cover the cost of Global Entry as a perk, so you might not end up paying out of pocket at all. So yes, it's going to cost a bit more now, but with faster customs lines, TSA PreCheck, and the new border systems rolling out in Europe and beyond, Global Entry is still one of the best investments you can make for smoother travel. Finally, let's talk about over-tourism, because it is getting harder and harder to ignore when you are traveling in Europe. Cities are starting to push back. Places like Nice, Barcelona, and Cannes are limiting cruise ship arrivals, raising day trip fees, and even capping how many visitors can enter historic districts each day. And in Lisbon, there was actually a protest against tourism earlier this year while we were traveling in Portugal. We weren't actually in the city that day. We were in another part of the country, but honestly, we still felt the impact of the over-tourism. Everywhere we went was packed with tourists. Although we still loved the trip, it was very clear how much pressure tourism is putting on the local communities. I know this is a time of year that many of you are starting to plan your travels for next year. So just be aware that you most likely are going to need to book tickets or time slots in advance for most of the major attractions, and that some popular destinations might start enforcing daily visitor limits in certain areas. And you should probably budget for higher tourist taxes or entry fees in very popular spots. It's also a reminder that traveling in the shoulder seasons like spring or fall, or more importantly, picking less crowded destinations, can help relieve some of the strain on local communities and make your experience a lot more enjoyable. And since it is fall shoulder season right now, you should go check out this video next for travel essentials that are perfect for your travel toolkit right now. Thank you so much for choosing to watch this video today. I hope that you have safe and wonderful travels.